What's going on, YouTube? So a couple weeks back, we brought you guys a review of the all-new heavy-duty Sierra. But now today, it's time to check out Chevy's more popular version, the brand new Silverado 2500 HD. Of course, we would like to specially thank our friends at Sutherland Chevrolet in Nicholasville for giving us access to this loaded truck. And if you're in the market for any new Chevy, make sure you stop by their dealership or visit them virtually via their website, which we provided a link to in the video description. So with that said, let's see if the new Silverado HD is the ultimate combination of capability and luxury. So as always, we'll start things off with the exterior styling. Now, as many of you probably remember, this truck didn't get the best reception when its photos were first unveiled. But I'm happy to report that in person, it's actually a very handsome design. This high country model is the one that has the more traditional design, since it uses the regular Chevy bow tie grille with thick chrome bars, bronze accents between them, and the high country branding under the right headlight. Surprisingly though, the LTZ and every other trim below it now have the non-traditional grille, which has Chevrolet spelled out across it. As far as the headlights, both of the top two trims pretty much have the same design, with two separate housings and stacked LED headlights in the bottom. And then finally, along the bottom, both have LED fog lights housed inside either a chrome bumper on the LTZ or a body colored one on the high country. Moving on to the side, right now only crew cab is being offered, with your choice between the normal and the long beds. And in the back, it adopts the same design as the 1500 debuted last year, with Chevrolet written out across the back and the new wiggly LED taillights. So overall, while the new heavy duty is a pretty dramatic departure from the outgoing model, in person it has a great mixture of traditional and modern cues. Now turning to the wheels, heavy duty trucks do have to have smaller ones for capability purposes, which is why this high country comes standard with 20-inch polished alloys instead of 22s like on the 1500. As far as the LTZ, it has 18s with a similar design. Heading up to the mirrors, they are massive towing ones with just about every feature that could be thrown at them. You have normal and convex mirrors, auto dimming, heating, power folding, power extension, puddle lamps, and front and rear facing lighting. We also have blind spot monitoring, which is standard on this model and optional on the LTZ. Now beyond BSM, importantly, you now have some active safety features on board: forward emergency braking and auto high beam headlights, both of which were not available on the outgoing model. But getting stuff done is definitely most important to HD trucks. So checking on the tailgate first, it is the same as on the regular 1500, so it can impressively both lower and raise with the press of a button. The bed lift-in height is now 1 inch lower this year, and it can be accessed through either the back bumper step or the new side one. As for the bed itself, Chevy says it now has class-leading volume, 12 different tie downs, and we also have the power outlet and the cutouts for fifth wheel towing. And speaking of towing, all versions of the HD make absolutely huge numbers. This specific model is rated for 18,500 pounds, but some versions can go all the way up to a maximum of 35,500 pounds. But anyways, that's it for the outside. So now let's go ahead and see how luxurious they have made the cabin. So as you would expect, your two higher end trims do come standard with Chevy's smart entry system, as well as remote start. And to get inside the vehicle itself in typical Chevy fashion, You're just going to press the button and it will unlock the door. Alright, so taking a look inside the 2020 Silverado HD High Country. As you can tell, the cabin is a more familiar place than, say, the exterior, for example. But there are plenty of unique touches and plenty of changes versus the outgoing generation. Now, as far as your material and color options, both the LTZ and the High Country do come standard with real leather seating. On the LTZ, that's going to be available in jet black or Gideon gray. However, here on the High Country, you have jet black or the more expressive combination of umber and jet black, which is what we have. I also do want to mention the seating arrangement. What you'll be looking at is the bench seating on all the models except for the High Country. This does come standard with the bucket seats, but you can option on bucket seats to the LTZ. Now, turning over here to your door trim, since this is the High Country, of course, you do have the best materials of the bunch. So you're looking at a real leather through here with the nice color contrast color here. We do have soft touch plastic with more stitching, as well as some faux wood accents on the High Country. Both the LTZ and the High Country do come standard with 2-person memory seating. And as far as your windows, they are one-touch auto up and down for your driver and passenger. Now, coming down to your seat, it is 10-way power adjusting with 2-way lumbar support on both the High Country and the LTZ. And like I already said, you do have real leather on both of those trims, but only on the High Country do you have this really nice looking color contrast design. So you've got like different accents, different types of stitching and piping details, as well as the stitched embroidered name up here on the headrest. It's definitely a very, very attractive looking seat. Now, as far as getting into the HD, of course, this is a very large truck, but we do have standard running boards. Now, just be aware, these are fixed in place. They are not retractable like on the 1500, but as you can see, they are very large. So easily put your feet on there. And then you do also have a driver's side assist grip here. Now, like I already mentioned, this being the High Country does mean we have both the best materials and the most visually interesting design. So across your upper part above the gauges here, it is soft touch. However, this part here is hard touch. But when you go down just a little bit more, you come to this color contrast section. This is a leatherette with color contrast stitching that goes around it and all over this area. Coming down to your lower areas, we have some more of that realistic faux wood trim, and you've got more of that perforated leather and color contrast leather design here on the armrest. And everything does fit together very well also. Now, it is worth mentioning that on the High Country you have the unique kind of bronze finished material that goes around here, as well as on the steering wheel. Like I said, that's exclusive to the High Country. Now, on your top two trims, you do have standard push button start. And when you press it, you're going to find this 8-inch display fire up on the LT, LTZ, and the High Country as standard equipment. Alright, so checking out the gauges here, what you're looking at is the premium version. This version comes on the High Country only and has the 8-inch reconfigurable gauge cluster display here in the middle. This is optional as well on the LTZ. But regardless of which one you choose, you actually have pretty much the same information, more or less. Basically, your gauges, those top 4 gauges are rendered digitally on this, but you do have options to change the design and do things with like safety systems within this screen. Now, in addition to that, High Country is also going to come standard with a very, very nice 15-inch head-up display. This is the largest in the segment, and it's one of the largest I've ever seen. Definitely very vivid, can contain a lot of different information once you start moving and if you change the settings around. Now coming back to the steering wheel, of course you're going to find a nice leather wrap steering wheel across all the models. And you do actually have hydraulic power steering. So that's kind of more of an old school heavy duty type of thing. We do have some cross stitching on the steering wheel. Like I said, we have the bronze on the High Country. And then as far as your buttons, you do have buttons for your cruise control, heating on both the LTZ and the High Country. And then on this side, you get your multi-function display buttons, phone, and voice controls. As far as the steering wheel itself, it is always manually tilt and telescoping. Now as far as your shifter, you still have a column-mounted shifter, just like always. So obviously that's very simple. You're just going to pull down for drive. You do have these little toggles if you want to control shifting manually. You will notice, just like the 1500 Silverado, the towing button, as well as your other drive modes, they've been relocated over here to this little toggle. So you can just scroll through. As you can see, you do have a normal and an off-road mode, and then you can flip over to the other side for the towing mode. And you do also have your four-wheel drive controls right there. Now when we go into reverse here, you will find a standard backup camera on both the LTZ and the High Country, of course. But what we're looking at here is the upgraded surround vision camera system. This is an option on both the LTZ and the High Country. And we've discussed it previously in both the Sierra as well as other GM vehicles. But this is one of the best camera systems in the entire auto industry. You have just an absolute ton of views, really great resolution as well. So I'll point out a few of the important ones. This is obviously a good view for you to back up for your trailer. You have kind of a 3D view for getting out of tight spaces. You have side views so you don't grind against anything. We do also have a bed camera, which is thrown in with this surround vision system. And we can't activate it right now because obviously we don't have a trailer. But this does do the same thing as the Sierra, which we pointed out last month, which you can basically see through the trailer. Definitely a class exclusive feature and super neat. Now having that column mounted shifter does have plenty of benefits when it comes to interior storage. Obviously you've got a ton of it here. So you've got a little area right here on the top to start out with. But underneath here we have an absolute massive amount of space. This is super deep, very wide. You do have a removable mat as well as illumination. And you'll find one of your standard USBs, one of your USB Type-Cs, and an aux jack. Moving forward, we've got our two cup holders, a small area here, another small area here, and then this large pad here does double as a wireless phone charger. Then as far as other odds and end areas, we have some area along the side. We have some space up here, pretty deep space actually, up on the top of the dashboard. And then just a ton of space in the door trim. So you're definitely going to have plenty of space for whatever equipment you need to get the job done. Now as far as other controls in this area, here are your other USB ports, another 12-volt outlet, a household style outlet, and then you also have your controls for your trailer brake. This being the diesel, above that we have the exhaust brake system. We've got some buttons for our safety systems, tailgate release, traction control. This turns on and off the outlet. And then this is for rolling down all the windows at once. I've never seen that button before on any trucks, but definitely an interesting and handy feature. Now the next stop up the dashboard here is our climate controls. On both the top two trims, it is dual zone automatic. And as you'd expect for a truck focused on ergonomics, it is very simple. You have three knobs to control your main functions here. You also have your zones located right here as well as your other buttons. So there's really nothing that you need to consult the display for, though you can have it up there if you prefer. As far as the seat controls, you will have the 3-stage seat heating on both the LTZ and the High Country. However, it is standard. The ventilation is standard only on the High Country, or you can option it on via the convenience package on the LTZ. Alright, and now we are up at the audio system. So the 6-speaker audio system is standard equipment. However, this being the loaded model, we have the 7-speaker Bose premium sound system. So we'll go ahead and take a sample. Overall sound quality is excellent. And now that pretty much brings us up here to our Chevy Infotainment System 3. This of course is new to the heavy duty trucks, so we'll go ahead and take a quick look. Now as far as your main features here, I just want to point out a couple of the highlights and the most important things, because this is the same Chevy Infotainment 3 system that you've seen in other models. So the first thing I want to point out is that we do have navigation. This is the integrated navigation system, the newest upgraded version, and that's standard on just the High Country, but you can option it on to the LTZ if you want to. Regardless though, you will find that you have standard Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, and those of course do have built-in navigation functions if you want to use those instead. Additionally, we do have a Wi-Fi hotspot. This is where you'll find the Wi-Fi name as well as the password to sign in. And this is included free for a 3 GB trial or the first month of ownership. But anyways, that's pretty much the main features of the Chevy Infotainment 3 system. However, we do have a much more detailed tech help video available for those of you who want to learn more about it. A link to that is provided in the video description. Now heading on up here, we do have a auto dimming mirror with your 3 HomeLink universal remotes mounted right here. But continuing the trend of this having more cameras than basically any other vehicle I've ever been in, we also have GM's rear camera mirror. And then coming on up here, you'll find that we have a moonroof. This is actually not standard on any of the trim levels. It is a $995 option on both of them. And as you can see, it's the standard size unit. There is no panoramic one available at this time. But overall, the cabin of the High Country Silverado HD is certainly a great place to spend time. Just like with other HD vehicles, you have this extreme mixture of both a lot of storage, a lot of capability, but now with this new model, we add in a ton of luxury and a ton of technology. But anyways, that does it for the front areas. So now I'll go ahead and hand it off to my brother Mason, who will check out the back areas. Alrighty, so heading around to the back seats of the all-new 2020 Silverado Heavy Duty, you are going to find a good amount of space as you would expect. Now, we are covering only the LTZ and the High Country, so that is available in this crew cab configuration, so you are going to find a lot of legroom. Technically, it's rated at 43.4 inches of rear legroom and 40.1 inches of rear headroom, which, like I said, is absolutely massive. You're not going to have any issues in terms of space, and it's right on par with that of the Ford F-250 Super Duty. Now, turning over to the door trim, it is really nicely appointed, especially on this High Country with the color contrast. So we do have a brown portion right here, as well as black contrast, and some of that real wood trim. Now we do have a auto down window, and down below that we do have a lot of door storage. As you can see, there is tons of it. And turning over to the seat itself, like I mentioned, we do have that color contrast design. It looks very, very premium, and it is also very comfortable. Now getting in is quite easy on this High Country, so just step on the running boards. You do also have an assist grip.
Now here in the center, of course, Chevy is going to give you plenty of features, especially on this high country model. So up top we do have 2 cup holders with a little storage area in between. And down below that you will find standard air vents across all of the models, and that's a feature that wasn't even offered at all on the previous Silverado Heavy Duty. Now off to the side you will also find 3-stage heated rear seats, which are included standard on the high country model. And down below that you will find a smart charging USB, a USB Type-C, and a 12-volt power outlet. Now of course we do have a nice fold-down armrest. It is leather wrapped, has 2 cup holders inside, and another little storage area. I do also want to point out that this power rear window glass is high country exclusive as well. And up top we do even have a nice cutout for extra headroom, as well as some LED lighting and a coat hook. Now as far as rear legroom is concerned, like I mentioned, this is an absolute massive amount of space. So behind your seating position, I probably have about 2 foot of space between my knees and the seat back, and my feet can easily slide up underneath the seat. And so as you can see, you can basically completely stretch out back here. Now of course the seats themselves are very practical since this is a heavy duty truck after all, so you do have several features associated with them. You can pull this strap down to kind of fold it down like this, and down below that you will find this strap. And this strap actually opens part of the seat back and will give you a little storage area that is completely hidden from view, so if you have something really valuable, this would be a great spot to put it. Now of course you can also fold the seat up. So all you have to do is grab underneath, and it does fold right up. And underneath, you do even have a nice little storage box to put your tools and stuff. And, you know, if you had something really big, you could fold both sides up and fit like something really big back here in case it was like raining and you didn't want it in the bed. That is an option here. Now coming over to the passenger seat, it is the same adjustment as the driver's. And in front of the passenger, you do have a nice color contrast design with the signature 2-part opening glove box. So you have a nice storage compartment right here, and down below you have your standard glove box. So it makes for a lot of different storage configurations. And up top, we do have a sun visor with LED lights and a mirror, and it does also detach and extend. But anyway guys, that's all the practical stuff about this Silverado Heavy Duty. So now let's go ahead and take it out on the road and see how that diesel engine performs.
Alright, so now that takes us to the heart of this beast. 2 different powertrains. They're both 6.6 liters, but we have the option between a V8 and a turbo diesel. Now, the standard gas-powered V8 that produces 401 horsepower and 464 pound-feet of torque. However, the vast majority of people go ahead and bite the about $9,000 bullet and get the 6.6 liter turbo diesel engine. Because that produces 445 horsepower, but 910 pound-feet of torque. So it's absolutely insane, you know, and it's what allows this vehicle to tow just about anything you can possibly throw at it. As far as your transmissions, you'll be looking at a 6-speed automatic with the gas-powered model, a 10-speed automatic with this diesel model, and then of course you do have the option between 2-wheel drive or 4-wheel drive. On this high country, it's 4-wheel drive only. And then lastly, in regards to your fuel economy, it's not EPA rated because it's so massive. However, a lot of people have been curious to see what kind of mileage it actually gets, and this particular model gives us the opportunity to do that because somebody has been driving it for 112 miles. And so I obviously don't know how they've been driving it. They could have been flooring it continuously, whatever. But the mileage on average is at 10.3 miles per gallon right now. But anyways, fuel economy is not what you get this truck for. It's about that 910 pound-feet of torque. So let's go ahead and take it on the road and see how that is. So first taking off here in our 2020 Silverado heavy duty turbo diesel. This power is just ridiculous. I mean, I don't know any other way to really describe it. Just like in the Sierra we drove like 2 or 3 weeks ago, it's really no less shocking here on the second round because it's just so effortless. Like, I mean, you can see it visually. You just kind of put your foot down, and without any drama whatsoever, like not a bunch of noise, nothing. You just rock it straight off down the road, and you're going 60 in the blink of an eye.
With a truck that it literally feels like a semi.
With a gigantic heavy-duty truck.
You know, and just cruising down here, we are going like 55 miles an hour, and it is just so smooth in here. You know, that was one of the things that impressed me the most about the Sierra that Drew was talking about, is just how smooth these trucks ride. You know, here in the high country, I mean, it literally feels like a luxury car through and through. You can't feel any types of bumps in the road, and it really is just a absolute superb ride in here. It's very, very impressive.
Got a little bit of turbo whistle that you can hear. Definitely a pretty cool sound. It just adds to the effect of the speed. Just like that. Up to highway speed.
It's really just a lot of fun. You know, it's not only very practical and usable, you know, if you're going to tow something, you know, it actually is really fun to drive.
Right, it really makes sense to me why most people go for the diesel, because, well, the gas has some of this experience, of course, but the torque on this is just insane, and you know, there's nothing else that has this type of power that, you know, besides these heavy duty trucks. They're the only types of vehicles that can do stuff like this.
And also just kind of the fact that literally anything you look at, you're bigger than, besides maybe that dump truck out there. You're actually bigger than everything else on the road. I mean, even SUVs like that Kia Sorento, it looks like a little ant on the road. So it really kind of just gives you a really nice commanding presence, which I know, I mean, all of you guys who are looking to buy in this class are definitely looking for a commanding view of the road.
Right. And you have a lane departure warning as well, since you kind of look down on the lanes. You know, it's kind of almost like a video game type of perspective when you're looking down at the lanes. I'm noticing compared to the Sierra AT4 we drove, feels a little bit firmer as far as the ride quality. And like I had mentioned in that review, that being the off-road focused model, does come with softer springs, you know, to have that articulation available to you. So, you know, this has a little finer body control, but also a firmer ride versus kind of a more body roll and then a softer ride. And just different things to keep in mind. And then really the last thing I wanted to discuss is just the 10-speed automatic transmission. It simply does an excellent job. I mean, it is really, really, really smooth. So in conclusion, if you are in the market for a semi-truck, you should really just come and look at one of these instead. Because I can tell you, this is a whole heck of a lot more luxurious, a whole lot more high-tech, and it would definitely win a drag race next to a semi-truck. Like I said, is amazing this time around as it was when we first experienced it with the Sierra. It's just a remarkable overall package.
Alrighty, so let's go ahead and discuss the pricing of this 2020 Silverado Heavy Duty. So you're going to find very competitive pricing with all of the rest of the heavy duty trucks. So all of the prices that I'm about to quote you are for the crew cab, regular bed, and the two-wheel drive versions. So just keep that in mind as I name off these prices. So for the very base work truck, that's going to be $41,400. The custom is $43,600. The LT is $44,600. The LTZ is going to go up to $53,300. And then finally, you have this Top Dog High Country trim, which is going to start at $61,100. Now, this particular High Country is definitely highly optioned, so we do have pretty much everything we can add. And like Drew mentioned, we have opted for the Duramax Diesel, which is a $9,750 option. We also have the High Country Deluxe package for $3,065. We have the optional sunroof for $995. We have optional white paint for $995, as well as all-weather floor liners for $210, as was the trailer tire pressure monitor for $50. And then we do actually have a discount of $500 for the High Country Deluxe package. So all told, when you add the destination charge of $1,595, you are going to come to $77,260 as your price for this pretty much fully loaded High Country model, which is worth noting. If you're cross-shopping this, let's say with the GMC Sierra Denali, that's probably its closest competitor here. It is going to be a little bit cheaper from High Country to the fully loaded Denali, and you are going to see, you know, a little bit of a price discount for that. Well guys, we've enjoyed watching one of the first in-depth looks at the all-new 2020 Chevy Silverado 2500 High Country. Please hit those like and subscribe buttons if you haven't already, and we'll catch you next time as we sample more of the latest automotive delicacies.